Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Did you know a child's brain can trigger a full-blown stress response in less than a tenth of a second? It's literally that fast. Today, we're skipping all the basic parenting cliches and diving straight into the fascinating neuroscience of a child's developing mind. If you've ever wondered exactly how kids eventually learn to manage those huge, overwhelming feelings and actually hit the pause button, well, you're in the perfect place. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine this scenario. A child is just sitting quietly, and suddenly, a deafening crash. Think about what happens in that exact split second. Before that kid even has the vocabulary to ask, hey, what was that noise? Their body is already taking action. We're talking about a completely immediate, physical reaction that overrides absolutely everything else.
Section 1. Reacting before thinking. This is all about how the body is designed to protect, connect, and learn.
Long before a child can articulate how they're feeling, their nervous system just takes over to keep them safe. In a fraction of a second after that loud crash, the heart instantly speeds up to pump more blood. Muscles tighten up to prepare for a fight or flight response, and their attention absolutely locks on to the threat. You see, emotions aren't just abstract, floaty feelings, they're intensely physical. They emerge from interconnected networks firing at lightning speed, sharing real-time data about threats, rewards, memories, and bodily sensations.
Moving right along to Section 2, Meet the Emotional Team. Let's look at this incredibly collaborative network.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the brain functions like a team of specialists. First up, the amygdala. Think of this as the brain's rapid response alarm system. It is constantly scanning the environment to detect emotionally important events and possible danger. And it activates incredibly quickly, which, is fantastic if a tiger's chasing them, but it's kind of less helpful when the threat is just a weird look from a classmate, a small mistake, or a piece of broccoli touching their mashed potatoes.
Next to the alarm system, we have the prefrontal cortex. This is basically the manager of the team. It handles planning, impulse control, and thinking about consequences. This is the area that helps a child pause and ask, okay, what are my choices here? But here's the catch. This part of the brain doesn't finish fully wiring until a person is in their mid-20s. Actually, scratch that. It's a huge point. Expecting adult-level emotional regulation from a toddler just completely ignores their biology. They need our guidance because the hardware literally isn't finished yet.
The third major specialist on this team is the insula. This region is super fascinating because it manages interoception, which is just a fancy word for our internal body awareness. It acts like a bridge connecting physical feelings like a racing heart, a tense stomach, or warm cheeks with actual emotional meaning. By helping a kid notice these internal physical signals, the insula acts as this crucial early warning system, giving them a heads up that a strong emotion is bubbling up before it completely boils over.
And this brilliantly illustrates how biological data doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Think about it. A loud, screaming voice at a football game, that's processed as thrilling and exciting. But that exact same decibel level during an argument at home? Terrifying. The brain doesn't just process raw audio input. It relies on memory, past relationships, and expectations to filter the present moment and figure out the context.
Section 3. Wiring through continued practice. This is where we see how experience actively shapes brain structure.
So this brings us to neuroplasticity. This is the brain's amazing capacity to actually change and build new neural pathways through repeated experience. If you've been following this space, you probably know Hebb's law, neurons that fire together wire together. Practice doesn't just create instant perfection, but every single time a child practices a calming technique, they're physically upgrading their brain's broadband connection. They're making that healthy, constructive response so much faster and easier to access the next time around.
Building this pathway happens in a few specific stages, almost like a giant puzzle. It starts with simply naming the emotion. That creates just enough mental space to take a purposeful pause. From there, the child can seek support if they need it and ultimately access a constructive response. But the real secret here, you absolutely have to practice this progression when things are peaceful. You can't run a fire drill while the building is literally burning. Practicing these skills during calm moments is what wires the brain to have them ready when the amygdala's alarm starts blaring.
Bringing us to Section 4. Calming through co-regulation, and the vital role of external guidance.
So the crucial point is that young children simply cannot regulate their own nervous systems all by themselves. They rely entirely on the adults around them to act as an external guide. They need us to provide a calm voice, a predictable routine, and clear limits to help balance their nervous system. And over time, something amazing happens. That external voice saying, "breathe with me," is gradually internalized by the child. It literally transforms into their own independent inner voice saying, I know how to breathe and begin again.
Kids are master observers. They learn heavily by just watching us. I mean, think about the deep irony of an adult yelling at the top of their lungs, I need you to calm down, right? The intense physical action of shouting just completely overrides the words. But if you calmly state, I am frustrated, so I will pause before I answer, you are verbally modeling the exact behavior and emotional tool that child needs to learn. It is way more effective.
By narrating our own emotional regulation, we're taking an invisible mental process and making it visible for them to observe. It gives them a biological blueprint. And it's so important to recognize that a child's attachment, their feeling of emotional safety, and cultural expectations really shape this observational learning. A securely attached child who expects comfort instead of chaos, they are vastly more equipped to bravely explore those difficult feelings.
Section 5. Shaping the emotional brain. Proving that these skills are built, not born.
For me, the most empowering takeaway from all this neuroscience is that emotional intelligence is not some genetic lottery you're just born with or without. It is a built capacity. By consciously creating safe environments, modeling our own regulation, providing the right emotional vocabulary, and repeating these skills during calm moments, you are effectively coaching and supporting their internal emotional team. You are the architect of that child's resilience.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful question. Knowing what we now know about how the emotional brain physically wires itself based on experience and observation, how will you model your own emotional responses for the next generation? Every single time we pause and take a breath instead of just reacting, we aren't just calming ourselves down, we are literally helping to shape the minds of the children watching us. Think about that next time things get chaotic. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. I'll catch you in the next one.